The aggressively cheerful sunlight flooding the main conference room at Orion Logistics felt like a calculated insult. It streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, mocking the tense atmosphere within, glinting off the sterile polish of the oversized mahogany table. Untouched pastries, arranged with a caterer's forced artistry, sat sweating slightly under the recessed lighting. Lukewarm coffee cooled in branded carafes. Dominating the far wall, hung with a distinct lack of precision, was a banner whose bright blue letters screamed a jarring irony. "Congratulations, Lucas. 5 years of dedication." This wasn't a celebration. It was an ambush disguised with cheap bunting and stale croissants. This morning was supposed to be a milestone, a quiet acknowledgement of half a decade I'd dedicated to Orion. 5 years spent not just meeting targets, but consistently obliterating them. 5 years transforming my division from an overlooked backwater into the company's most profitable and reliable engine. 5 years mentoring bright young talents, navigating complex logistical nightmares, and building rock-solid relationships with clients who trusted me, often more than they trusted the Orion brand itself. My core team, Maya Sharma, whose sharp logistical mind could untangle supply chain knots that baffled others. Ben Carter, no relation to Owen, thankfully. Our quiet data guru who made numbers tell compelling stories. Chloe Dubois, the client relations virtuoso whose calm empathy could diffuse the most volatile situations. And Sam Peterson, the bright, hard-working analyst I'd personally recruited from university and watched blossom, were arrayed around the table. Their initial smiles of genuine anticipation for my recognition had faded, replaced by puzzled frowns and nervous glances. They felt it too, the sudden drop in temperature, the shift in the room's energy, the instant Owen Carter, our division head, had entered. Owen wasn't a leader forged in the fires of operational challenges. He was a legacy appointment, a man whose ascent owed more to nepotism and shrewd internal politicking than to any discernible talent for logistics or leadership. He wore his authority like an ill-fitting suit, outwardly confident, but betraying an underlying insecurity in his stiff posture and how his eyes constantly scanned for perceived slights or challenges. His smile was a rare, fleeting thing, a quick baring of teeth that never reached the cold calculation in his gaze. Today, that calculation was on full display, devoid of even the pretense of warmth. He cleared his throat, a dry, attention-grabbing rasp. "All right, people, let's bring it in," he commanded, his voice slicing through the awkward silence. He pointedly ignored the banner, the pastries, me. He clutched a single sheet of paper, his knuckles showing white. While today marks Mr. Rossi's 5th anniversary milestone, the sudden formality, using my surname, was a klaxon warning. It also serves as a crucial juncture for strategic evaluation and ensuring full alignment with Orion's evolving performance paradigms. A ripple of confused murmurs went through the team. Maya's dark eyes met mine across the table, a silent, "What the hell?" etched on her face. Ben nervously adjusted his glasses. Chloe chewed her lower lip. Sam looked utterly lost. This wasn't just off-script, it felt deliberately cruel. Owen thrived on power plays, on keeping people off balance. But this felt different. This felt personal. Owen continued, his gaze fixed on a point just above the banner, as if addressing the wall itself. "In our ongoing pursuit of market dominance and enhanced operational efficiencies, it is paramount that all leadership personnel exhibit not merely consistent performance, but demonstrable agility in adapting to new strategic imperatives and a proactive embrace of aggressive growth targets mandated by the executive committee." The corporate buzzwords dripped with insincerity. Recent performance analyses, conducted utilizing newly implemented, more rigorous metrics, have unfortunately revealed certain discrepancies in this regard. He finally lowered his gaze, not to me, but to the paper he held, pretending to consult it. While baseline metrics concerning client retention under Mr. Rossi's purview have remained, he paused, searching for the most dismissive word, adequate, to describe a consistent 15–20% year-over-year growth, driven primarily by my portfolio, was insulting. There has been a noted stagnation in adopting critical procedural innovations and a tangible lack of alignment with the division's necessary forward momentum. My jaw clenched involuntarily. Newly implemented metrics. Stagnation? He had personally signed off on my Q2 review less than 3 months ago, rating me exceeds expectations across the board, specifically praising my innovative approach to the Henderson account, which had secured a lucrative 3-year extension. What had changed so dramatically? Analysis of key performance indicators, Owen droned on, clearly relishing the drawn-out execution, indicates a concerning plateauing effect in strategic output and a failure to fully capitalize on emergent market synergies. He lifted his head, and this time his eyes, cold and devoid of any empathy, locked directly onto mine. A faint, almost imperceptible smirk played on his lips. It was the look of a man savoring a long-planned act of spite. Therefore, exercising its prerogative to ensure optimal leadership configuration for future success, Orion Logistics has determined that a change is necessary. Effective immediately, Mr. Lucas Rossi's employment is terminated. The silence that followed was absolute, deafening. It wasn't just quiet, it was a void, sucking the air out of the room. The cheerful banner suddenly seemed obscene. Maya let out a small, strangled gasp. Ben's mouth hung open. Chloe's eyes shimmered with unshed tears of disbelief. Sam looked physically ill, his face ashen. The shock wasn't just the act of firing itself, but the grotesque public nature of it. He had turned a celebration, however modest, into a public shaming, a deliberate act of professional and personal humiliation in front of the very team I had built and nurtured. Human Resources has been fully briefed and will handle all necessary separation protocols, Owen added quickly, eager to conclude the unpleasantness now that the blow had been delivered. He straightened his already perfect tie. We expect Mr. Rossi to collect his personal belongings and vacate the premises within the hour. Security personnel will provide an escort to ensure a smooth departure. He turned on his heel, offering no further word, no acknowledgement of 5 years of service, and strode out of the conference room, leaving behind an atmosphere thick with stunned disbelief and the toxic residue of his cruelty. For a full 30 seconds, nobody spoke or moved. It was as if Owen had dropped a grenade and fled, leaving us to deal with the shrapnel. Finally, Maya pushed her chair back, her voice trembling slightly but laced with cold fury. Lucas, that was monstrous. Plateauing? He's lying. Everyone knows your division carries this company. What is he playing at? I don't know what game he's playing, Maya, I said, finding my voice, surprised by its steadiness. The initial shock was crystallizing into a hard, cold certainty. This wasn't about performance. This was about Owen. But he just made his move. I stood, the simple action feeling monumental. I need to pack. The humiliation deepened later that afternoon. As I was quietly placing personal effects into a drab cardboard box at my desk, trying desperately to maintain dignity under the sympathetic, outraged, or simply bewildered gazes of colleagues pretending not to watch, an email alert pinged on my phone. It was from Sarah Miller in HR, the junior assistant who always seemed overwhelmed. The subject, FW, termination, Lucas R. My blood ran colder than it had in the conference room. I opened it. Sarah had, as instructed, forwarded the official termination notice for my records. However, in what I could only assume was a state of flustered panic induced by Owen's aggressive demands for immediate action, Get Rossi processed and out of the building now, was probably close to his directive. She had made a catastrophic error. Instead of forwarding only to me and the necessary legal distribution list, she had hit reply all on an earlier internal HR planning thread. And that thread, through some archaic IT oversight or a failure to update distribution lists, still contained the all-staff Boise office group address. The forwarded chain laid bare the entire sordid process. It included Owen's initial email to the HR director, explicitly instructing them to proceed with my termination, citing the fabricated performance issues. Crucially, it contained his specific, vindictive phrasing suggestions for the official notice, the weaponized corporate jargon I'd heard in the meeting, and more. Persistent inability to integrate seamlessly with evolving corporate strategies. Failure to demonstrate the required level of executive presence. A management style misaligned with Orion's dynamic future. It was a naked display of calculated malice, intended as internal justification, but now broadcast to hundreds. The digital fallout was immediate and explosive. My phone erupted in a symphony of buzzing notifications. Texts, Slack messages, even a few hesitant instant messages from people in entirely different departments flooded in. Lucas, just saw the email. This is insane. Cannot believe Carter put that in writing and it went wide. He's finished. Orion is officially toxic. So sorry this happened to you. What can we do? Owen's attempt to control the narrative and protect himself legally had imploded, turning his private vendetta into a public spectacle of corporate cruelty and incompetence. He hadn't just fired me. He'd exposed the rot at the heart of his leadership to the entire company. While the schadenfreude offered a fleeting bitter taste of justice, the core question remained. Why this elaborate, self-destructive charade? Simple jealousy seemed insufficient fuel for such risky behavior. Before the inevitable system lockout severed my last digital ties to Orion, I felt a burning need for concrete proof of the fabrication Owen had alluded to. If he'd falsified records, that moved this beyond unfair dismissal into potentially illegal territory. My fingers flew across the keyboard, my muscle memory navigating the complex network drive structure. I still had team lead permissions, granting me access to various project and administrative folders, at least for a little while longer. I searched HR folders, shared performance review directories, Owen's own shared project folders. Sometimes he carelessly saved drafts there. Time was slipping away. My login could be revoked any second. Then, my breath hitched. There, incongruously saved within a folder labeled Q3 Logistics Conference Planning, Drafts, was a file that didn't belong. LR Perf Review Q3 Final OC Edits, Docs. My initials. Q3 Review. Owen Carter's Edits. The file properties told a damning story. Created 2 months ago. Last modified by Owen Carter. Date modified yesterday, 11:48 p.m. Owen had been working on this fabrication late into the night before firing me. My hand trembled as I double-clicked the file. It was, as I feared, a grotesque rewrite of my actual performance review. Entire sections detailing my successes, exceeding the Henderson targets, streamlining the Miller Industries integration, saving Orion nearly $200K annually, receiving unsolicited written praise from the CFO for my budget management, were simply deleted. In their place, Owen had inserted vague, unsubstantiated criticisms using the same corporate buzzwords he'd employed in the meeting and the email. Lacks proactive strategic vision. Requires development in cross-functional collaboration. Communication style occasionally hinders optimal team synergy. The numerical scores were methodically downgraded, dragging my overall assessment from a solid exceeds expectations to a damning meets minimum requirements, providing the paper-thin justification he needed. The calculated dishonesty was breathtaking. He hadn't just fired me unjustly, he had actively falsified official company records to retroactively create a pretext. This wasn't just unethical, it bordered on corporate fraud. The cold anger within me transformed, hardening into a core of icy resolve. This wasn't just about my job anymore. This was about exposing the truth. As I sat there, the fraudulent document searing itself onto my retinas, my desk phone rang again, its shrill tone making me jump. Caller ID, Henderson Corp., Arthur Henderson, CEO. Our scheduled weekly strategy call. My stomach plummeted. How could I possibly maintain professionalism now, knowing the depth of the betrayal that had just occurred? Drawing a ragged breath, I forced myself to answer, aiming for a calm I didn't feel. Lucas Rossi speaking. Lucas. Right on schedule. Arthur Henderson's robust voice filled the line, oblivious to the wreckage of my morning. Good. Good. Listen, I've been crunching the numbers on that proposed consolidation for the Pacific Northwest routes. I think we can shave another 4% off transit times if we implement your phased rollout suggestion starting Q1. Wanted to get your immediate thoughts before I pitch it to my board next week. He was already deep in the weeds, trusting my expertise, relying on our established partnership. The irony was a physical pain. I had to stop him. Mr. Henderson, I interrupted gently but firmly. Arthur. I'm very sorry, but before we discuss the PNW routes, there's something significant I need to inform you about. I paused, gathering myself. My employment with Orion Logistics was terminated this morning. The silence on the other end was profound, broken only by the faint hiss of the line. Then, Henderson's voice, low and dangerous. Terminated, he repeated, the word clipped, incredulous. Owen Carter had the unmitigated gall to fire you? The man responsible for salvaging and growing our account into their most profitable partnership? Yes, sir. He cited performance issues during a team meeting. An audible snort of derision came through the phone. Performance issues. The only performance issue at Orion is Owen Carter himself. That man wouldn't know strategic logistics if it hit him with a forklift. There was a pause, then his voice became sharp, decisive. Lucas, this is more than just personnel shuffling. This is incompetence bordering on corporate sabotage. My confidence in Orion's ability to service our account without your direct oversight is now zero. Zero. I want you to understand this clearly. Henderson Corp's business is tied to talent and results, not corporate letterhead. You find a new home, you call me first. We will seriously evaluate moving our entire multi-million-dollar portfolio to ensure continuity with the leadership we trust. Don't let Carter's stupidity define your next move. His actions today will have consequences far beyond your departure. The call ended, leaving me shaken, but also strangely empowered. Henderson's immediate, furious loyalty was more than just personal support. It was a powerful business reality that Owen, in his petty quest for dominance, had completely failed to comprehend. He hadn't just alienated an employee, he had potentially torpedoed his company's most vital client relationship. The physical act of packing the cardboard box felt like performing last rites for a part of my life. Each item, the world's okayest logistics manager mug Sam had given me as a joke, the framed photo of us all beaming after a particularly grueling but successful project launch, the stack of industry awards Orion had proudly displayed but now felt meaningless, triggered a pang of loss mixed with burgeoning resentment. My team members hovered nearby, their faces a grim tableau of shared anger and helplessness. Ben silently taped up the box flaps for me. Chloe slipped a small, hastily written card into my hand. We're with you, Lucas. Sam mumbled something about lawyers. As I stood ready to make the final humiliating walk out, I paused. An idea, born not of anger but of principle, took shape. I wasn't going to leave silently like a disgraced employee. I retrieved a sheet of paper from the nearby copier tray and grabbed a marker. My message wasn't long, nor was it accusatory. It spoke to the shared experiences, the collaborative spirit, the idea that people are the true assets. To my Orion colleagues, these past 5 years have been defined by the challenges we overcame together and the successes we built through teamwork and mutual respect. Thank you for your partnership, your dedication, and your commitment to excellence. Never forget that the measure of any organization is not just its bottom line, but how it values and uplifts its people. Wishing you all the very best. Lucas. With deliberate calm, I walked to the large bulletin board dominating the central hallway near the main elevators. Ignoring the outdated HR memos and faded event flyers, I found a prominent space and pinned my letter firmly. It felt like a small act of reclaiming my narrative, leaving behind a statement of values in a place suddenly devoid of them. As I hoisted the box and walked towards the elevators, acutely aware of the silent, watching eyes from nearby cubicles, I saw Maya, phone held discreetly, capture an image of the letter. Let it spread. Let it spark conversations. Let Owen deal with the fallout. The security guard in the lobby was young, clearly uncomfortable, but professional. He escorted me to the main doors, a silent, formal punctuation mark on my Orion career. Stepping out into the bright afternoon sun, the noise and energy of the city seemed alien, disconnected from the quiet implosion I had just experienced. My professional world had tilted on its axis. That evening, the solitude of my apartment felt vast and echoing. The righteous anger that had sustained me through the day began to fray at the edges, replaced by a gnawing uncertainty about the future and the sheer injustice of it all. I poured a second, larger measure of smoky Lafroig, letting the peat burn away some of the bitterness. As I sat staring blankly at the city lights, my secure email pinged. Another message from an anonymous Proton mail account. Same sender as before? Subject, Orion, confirmation caution. Lucas, your suspicion is correct. Carter felt eclipsed by your success, particularly your independent relationship with Henderson. He viewed you as a rival, not a report. The performance review was deliberately altered late last night to create pretext. Digital forensic evidence of this likely exists on the servers if IT hasn't already wiped it under his orders. He is arrogant, but also paranoid. He may try to discredit you further. Proceed with caution, but know that truth has allies. A senior colleague who believes in accountability. The confirmation was chilling but validating. It laid bare the calculated malice. Owen hadn't just reacted impulsively. He had plotted, schemed, and falsified records to achieve his goal. The warning about further attempts to discredit me felt ominous, but necessary. And the mention of allies, of accountability, offered a sliver of hope. I wasn't just fighting for myself. I was potentially a catalyst for exposing a deeper rot. The ensuing week was a strange limbo. I initiated unemployment claims, updated my resume, and started researching competitors, all while fielding a constant stream of messages and calls from former colleagues and industry contacts reacting to the email leak and the subsequent rumors. The story was spreading. Then came the tangible proof that Owen's actions were having real consequences. Henderson Corp. Formally issued a press release, subtle but devastating in the corporate world, announcing a strategic review of their logistics partnerships, citing a need for enhanced leadership stability and proven operational integrity. The subtext was clear. Orion was on probation, and Owen Carter was the reason. Simultaneously, I heard through back channels that two other significant clients had put their contract renewals on hold, demanding clarification on the leadership changes and expressing concern about service continuity. The pressure cooker inside Orion intensified. The internal investigation, initially perhaps intended by some as a way to contain the damage, took on a life of its own. Fueled by the anonymous leaks, client complaints, and the widespread internal disquiet sparked by my letter and the exposed email, the probe reportedly widened. Sarah Jenkins published a follow-up piece in the Chronicle, citing credible sources detailing systemic failures in performance management protocols and potential data integrity issues under investigation at Orion. She wrote about a culture of fear suppressing dissent and highlighted the exodus of talent that often follows such leadership crises. My specific case remained unnamed, but the narrative was crystallizing. Orion was a ship taking on water, captained by a man drilling holes in the hull. I was becoming less a victim, more a symptom of a larger disease. It was against this backdrop that Maya called again, her voice urgent. "Lucas, we need to meet. All of us. Tonight." The daily grind again. The atmosphere at the coffee shop that evening was electric. Gone was the shock. It was replaced by a hard-edged resolve. They didn't just offer sympathy. They came armed with intelligence. "It's a full-blown meltdown," Ben stated flatly, scrolling through messages on his phone. "Owen is losing it." He held an emergency all-hands meeting trying to rally the troops, but everyone saw through it. He blamed the Henderson situation on external market factors and incomplete data handovers. People were practically rolling their eyes. "He knows the investigation is closing in," Maya added. "Vance from the board is demanding weekly updates. Legal is interviewing everyone. He tried to get IT to wipe server logs related to performance reviews, but someone tipped off legal, and they put a preservation order in place." That explained the anonymous emails. Someone was actively working against Owen from within. "And clients keep calling asking for you," Chloe said. "They don't trust the people Owen assigned to replace you. Mistakes are happening. Deadlines are being missed." "We handed in our notices this afternoon, Lucas," Sam announced quietly but firmly, looking around at the others, who all nodded. "All four of us, effective in 2 weeks." The finality of it hit me. "Are you sure?" I asked, needing to hear it again. "This is a big risk." "The bigger risk is staying," Maya countered immediately. "Working for a man who fabricates reviews and fires people out of jealousy. In a company that protects him? No thanks. We built something good together, Lucas. We can do it again, somewhere better. We're betting on you." The weight of their trust was immense, but this time it felt less like a burden and more like a foundation. "Okay," I said, meeting each of their determined gazes. I accepted an offer. Titan Global Logistics, VP, Strategic Accounts. A collective sigh of relief went through the group, followed by excited chatter. "Stanton!" Ben exclaimed. "He's sharp. Good culture there, from what I hear." "He knows you guys might be coming," I told them. "He's eager to meet you." My formal acceptance call with Mark Stanton at Titan was invigorating. "Lucas, fantastic news," he'd boomed. "Ready to hit the ground running. We've got the office space allocated, budget approved for team build-out. Send me your dream team list whenever you're ready. And about Orion, let them rattle their sabers. Our legal team is prepared for any non-compete challenge. Frankly, given the public circumstances of your departure, they'd be fools to pursue it. It would only bring more negative attention their way." He was right. While Orion's legal department did send a vaguely threatening cease and desist letter regarding my non-compete clause shortly after my Titan appointment was announced, it felt pro forma, lacking teeth. My own lawyer advised ignoring it unless they filed suit, which they never did. Owen, it seemed, had enough problems without initiating a potentially embarrassing legal battle he was likely to lose. His attempts to salvage his reputation through slander also proved futile. Arthur Henderson, true to his word, became my most vocal defender in the industry. When Owen's whispers reached him, Henderson didn't just dismiss them. He actively countered them, praising my strategic acumen and integrity in conversations with other CEOs and at industry roundtables. Combined with the ongoing negative press surrounding Orion's internal turmoil and client defections, Owen's smear campaign dissolved into background noise, further isolating him. The client migration to Titan continued steadily. Henderson Corp was the first major domino, signing a significantly expanded contract with us within a month of my arrival. Two other key clients quickly followed, citing their established trust in me and my team, who were formally hired by Titan shortly after their Orion notice periods ended. Several smaller clients also made the switch, drawn by the positive buzz surrounding Titan's growth and disillusioned with the deteriorating service levels at Orion. We weren't actively poaching. Clients were choosing to leave a sinking ship for a more promising vessel, captained by familiar, trusted hands. At Titan, the contrast with Orion was stark. Mark Stanton fostered a culture of transparency, empowerment, and calculated risk-taking. My mandate was clear: build the best specialized logistics division in the region. With Maya, Ben, Chloe, and Sam forming the core, we recruited aggressively, attracting top talent drawn by our mission and the chance to work in a positive, growth-oriented environment. We implemented innovative tracking systems Ben had only dreamed of at Orion, developed proactive client engagement strategies championed by Chloe, and streamlined operational workflows under Maya's expert guidance. Sam quickly proved himself ready for more responsibility. We worked hard, long hours sometimes, but the atmosphere was collaborative, energized, respectful. There was no fear of arbitrary retribution, no need to constantly watch our backs. We focused solely on excellence, on exceeding client expectations, on building something better. The implicit comparison to Orion was ever present, a silent reminder of what we were striving not to be. A desire for revenge against Owen didn't fuel our success, but by the liberation of working towards a shared positive vision. The final act for Orion played out predictably. The steady loss of clients and talent created a death spiral. Revenue plummeted. The internal investigation concluded, leading to Owen Carter's quiet dismissal, though the company tried to frame it as a resignation. It fooled no one. Shareholder lawsuits mounted. Attempts to restructure or find new investment failed in the face of the company's damaged reputation and weakened market position. Less than 2 years after that fateful anniversary meeting, the news broke. Orion Logistics was being acquired by Meridian Shipping. The sale price was rumored to be a fire sale valuation, barely covering debts. The Orion brand vanished, absorbed into the larger entity. A quiet, ignominious fade-out for a company destroyed from within by the petty jealousies and ethical failures of one man. 2 years after I walked out of Orion carrying that cardboard box, I stood on the brightly lit stage at the National Logistics Conference in Chicago. The ballroom was packed, the air electric. Titan was up for Innovator of the Year. When our name was called, the roar from our company tables was deafening. Mark Stanton bounded onto the stage, grabbed the heavy crystal award, and immediately pulled me up alongside him. "This award," Mark announced, his voice booming across the room, "belongs to the team that redefined strategic logistics for us. It belongs to the leader who proved that you build success, not by tearing others down, but by lifting your people up." Lucas Rossi took a challenging situation and turned it into an industry-leading triumph through integrity, vision, and sheer talent. The applause was overwhelming. Standing there, sharing the spotlight, the award cool and solid in my hand, I scanned the audience. My team beamed from our front table. Industry colleagues nodded respectfully. And then, my eyes found him. Owen Carter. Seated alone at a small table near the back, looking considerably older, his expensive suit slightly rumpled. He wasn't clapping. He stared straight ahead, his face an unreadable mask, but the slump in his shoulders spoke volumes. Our gazes met for a fleeting fraction of a second. There was no anger left in me, no desire for retribution. Seeing him there, diminished and irrelevant, while I stood recognized by the entire industry, was simply closure. When Mark handed me the microphone, my words were brief. I thanked Titan for the opportunity, praised my incredible team for their dedication, and spoke about the future of logistics being built on transparency, partnership, and treating people with respect. It wasn't a victory speech aimed at Owen. It was a statement of the principles that had guided us to this stage. Weeks later, a small, anonymously sent package arrived at my spacious VP office at Titan. Inside, cushioned by tissue paper, lay my old Orion Employee of the Year badge. It looked small, insignificant now, the blue enamel slightly chipped. Tucked beneath it was a simple, folded note. The handwriting was unfamiliar, slightly unsteady. Thank you for showing us there was a different path. No name. No explanation. Just those 10 words. Had Owen sent it in a moment of clarity? Had Sarah Miller from HR sought a final act of contrition? Or perhaps someone else entirely, someone who had watched the drama unfold and learned something from it? I held the badge for a moment, a relic from a past life, then placed it in my desk drawer. The note, however, I kept. It wasn't a trophy of revenge, but a quiet reminder. A reminder that the most powerful response to injustice isn't always noise and fury, but the steady, unwavering pursuit of building something better, something founded on the very principles that had been violated. My success, and the success of the team that chose to follow integrity over expediency, was the final word. The creation had eclipsed the destruction,